This time I can prove the Israelites weren't black using ChatGPT. Ha!
So that's what we're doing now? Using AI?
What was that? I couldn't hear you over that smoke alarm chirp you people can't hear. Say that again?
Hilarious and original.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
I said, is that what we're doing now? Using AI to prove who the Israelites are?
That's exactly what we're doing, and I'll show you, boy.
Oh, brother.
2 hours later.
Your room still stinks.
Look at how easily ChatGPT debunks everything you chimps have to say. Ha! You was not kings, and you was not Israelites.
If we're going to use AI, then let's at least use an AI that's trained on the Bible without the Masoretic mistranslations or any agendas and actually tells us the truth.
Liar, there's no such thing.
I'll show you. Let's use Israelite bot. Go to israelitebot.com and ask the same thing.
Fine, but I bet it'll say the same thing as ChatGPT. No! No!
You see? I told you.
No!
And it shows biblical proof.
No! This is preposterous. I hate this website. It's all wrong.
Stop crying.
Your website sucks.
The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Well, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you are a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. And I'm going to continue to welcome you in the morning, at least Tuesday through Thursday, while the Most High allows me to. Because this is a day that the Most High has made, and I'll rejoice and be glad in it. How many times do we say that I would always sing that this is the day that the Lord has made. Well, I'd say as the Most High has made. And I'll rejoice and be glad in it. All these songs, these hymns that we got from out of Psalms, you gotta walk the walk and talk the talk. You gotta do and live and be in the struggle. Because sometimes we have to understand the struggle is the blessing. Shout out to Yakoba and Teo Ministries. Ezra Alawi, the struggle. The struggle, the contention. If you ever had things given to you in life, there was no struggle to earn it. There was no reward to earn it. I used to feel very jealous of a lot of the folks that would be born with that quote unquote silver spoon. But the reality is, if you're born with that silver spoon, then you're expecting everything to be given to you. And that doesn't build character. Matter of fact, it doesn't build spiritual character. We're in a time where the spiritual character is being tested amongst folks either inside the community or outside the community. See, a couple of years ago, I was telling you, they serve a different Elohim. That Elohim of mammon that can just be manipulated, that can just be created at an instant, that can be shut off at an instance, that can be pulled back whenever they wanted to. What type of a God or Elohim is that that can just be controlled or manipulated? Matter of fact, that's no God at all. It's just a system of man that they've created as a God. Yes, do we need money? Absolutely. Do we need funds? Absolutely. Do you not think that the Most High knows and understands that? He surely does. And he makes a way to provide the provision when, technically speaking, they want to cut us off from the provision. Before I go any further, I want to shout out to Sister Shar for the NeoDiplomacy Town Hall. The NeoDiplomacy Town Hall took place May 18th. That was Sunday, May 18th at 1 p.m. That's when it took place. And let me tell you, the information was just outstanding. And what that information did, it showed the ignorance that we all have, myself included. She had made backup slides for me, and I kind of perused through them. And my limited knowledge of law and legal discourse, But when she broke it down in that legalist style of the constitutional changes that had been taking place, and let me kind of caveat this. There has not been a change to the Constitution per se, but there is a change to the norms of how the Constitution is enforced by the executive office. Therefore, if the Constitution is not being enforced to the letter of the law that it was designed to do, then you have a constitutional crisis on your hands, which is where we're at right now. And whenever you have a case of constitutionality, which is being heard right now, these challenges will then begin to create even more disruptions and even more chaos, which, in my personal opinion, I believe that that is the ultimate goal in this, because, excuse me, you had the ultimate case of ignorance that we all had here in this society. Whether or not you were a Hebrew that was asleep or a Gentile that was blinded. Because why? Because we didn't have to think about things like that. When I was growing up, clear until my mid 30s, yes, I was totally asleep. I was asleep at the steering wheel. And I woke up one day and I was explaining to my wife at the time that we're asleep at the vehicle and we're getting ready to crash because we're beginning to find out that we know who we are. That Black people are beginning to wake up. And that was something that, for a Gentile to listen to, that shattered her world, because up until then, the world to her was, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, I'm going to be right, because inherently I am white, so I will be right. And that was the contention in the spiritual apparatus at that time, because white people, when they kind of felt that understanding, they would try to provide a context of, well, you cannot guilt me with white guilt. And now keep in mind that what we're seeing right now did not just pop out of nowhere. This was a culmination from what you saw 2015, 16, 17, as we were waking up. Some people woke up and like, you know what, I'm going to go back to sleep. Because why? It doesn't really matter to me. A lot of our people did that. A lot of our people had come to the conclusion that, you know what, I'd rather be in these places and spaces. I may not be safe, but guess what? I'd rather have a level of comfort. That level of comfort is no longer there. Because the level of comfort was predicated on the reality that white supremacy was going to reign supreme through and through until the very end. And now we're getting until the very end. And understand their end for them is always and has always been and will always be the nuclear option. If I can't have you, no one will. Sounds like a plot twist to a very bad relationship movie gone wrong. But the reality is that we have always been in an abusive relationship. We just didn't want to call it abuse because why? Because it would damage the psyche of who? The abuser. And while you're in the house of the abuser and the abuser catches wind that you're either planning on making a move or challenging that authority or challenging that abuse, well, guess what? If anybody else, any other neighbor, any other wife that sees the same thing happening, because why? Because your sister's going through the same thing. Your sister's getting abused. She's living out there in the country, farming, mining up wealth. She's on the land that Pop done gave. But we were forced to move to the city. Now, it didn't start off very nice because as we were moved to the city, we were in chains and iron fetters and other disgusting means of the brutalest forms of humanity. But our sister, on the other hand, had to go through all sorts of different brutalities with genocides and maimings that had taken place, all while Pop's land was just being reduced to ashes as folks would get on in there and take what they wanted. The in-laws would come in and ravage what they wanted. As a matter of fact, the in-laws had been served the divorce papers, but there's no judge or sheriff or police officer. No law enforcement would even enact. So she has to play along to get along. Because if not, then one of her children would always end up being dead in the most brutal manners. And the in-laws would pay the children to take out the other children. So the in-laws could continue to eat. Meanwhile, as we're seeing that happening with our sister, we're sitting here in an abusive relationship. Yeah, we may get the gold and the diamonds and the rubies. We may have all of the spectacular things. And they will visualize it. They will put it on TV, on social media to show, look how well we're doing. But in the background, off of the camera, outside of the light, we're being disappeared. We're being destroyed. We're being absolutely decimated. And then when we cry out for help, oh, well, you're just not grateful for what you have in this system. Because why? Because if you did not live here, you could be over with your sister and her in-laws. Would you want that? Look at the decadence. Look at all this stuff that I made you build, but then I took the credit. And then I can continue to brainwash you and miseducate you. Because why? Because who else is going to say anything? Because I've gotten you in such a weakened state to rely on me and this vanity, this illusion, to rely on this dollar that people are now selling back to the United States. Because why? Because they don't want to use the dollar anymore, because they see why the dollar was what it was. And that the dollar is cracking because of who? Because of us. Don't get that twisted. The whole world could see that, man, their goods are not looking the same. They're not being produced the same. They're not made with the same love and care. They're not sunk. They're not kissed on. They're not hugged on. They're not caressed. By the black folks, the African Americans, the Hebrews, the Israelites. They don't have that special umph. And because they don't have that special umph, it tried to be replicated. And then they see that the original version was much better than the duplicate. And then when they try to fake the original with music, dance, culture, thought, innovation, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it because the only thing that they know how to do successfully is to destroy. So even everything that they innovate, they happen to have a self-destruct button on it. And then they would try to tell the black folks that you all can't have anything nice because every single time it would be you all. So the projection was not being bought anymore by them. And the projection was no longer being bought by the people on the continent, because our sisters saw what we were doing and how we had a voice and how we were standing up. And our sisters said, you want to know what? Y'all need to leave. I'm taking my resources back. And one of the in-laws said, well, you need us. You always need us. The name of that in-law happened to be Francis. They call him France for short. One of the other in-laws, his name is Alamein, but they call him Germany for short. One of the other in-laws, they call him UK, but he goes by Brit. And the problem that they have is that the in-law suites, the guest house that the in-laws would set up for their other in-laws, America, they couldn't occupy the guest house like that because they had to deal with us. Those guest homes, embassies, they couldn't deal with us talking and walking and moving outside of their construct. Because why? Because it exposed too many things. And when you're dealing with people that are dealing with vanity, you do not want to look at the history. They hate it. But now that we have started to awaken and come to our senses about who we had once been, now we're starting to come back and get the voice and get that fire in our belly and say, you know what? My father is still with me. My father is still with me, and I can still call on my father. And now that we have lifted up our heads, and now that we have shouted out for help from our father, guess what? Our sister saw it. And then now she's doing the same thing. And now the in-laws are getting mad because they understand that the separation's about to come. They're trying their best to throw celebrities, boulets, Freemasons, whoever has done sold out to the system that staked their soul and their seed, their generations, to uphold what these folks had done to us. Because why? It takes us to subdue us. Yeah, what these in-laws did, they studied. They studied the people that had us before them. They looked at the history and they saw what they could do to continue to destroy and suppress and repress who we are. See, they hate understanding and knowledge. They hate the fact that the understanding and knowledge was always in the word. So what they would do to misconstrue it would be able to provide the distraction necessary. No, he was this, he was that. Well, what about this? What about this information? Isn't this what you all are taught in seminary? Yes, but what? See, that truth really tears people up when they've been living in an age of ignorance. That truth really harms people when they've been living in an age of ignorance. And what also has to happen, we also have to internalize what it is that has grown in us from the ignorance. Are we walking in vanity, or are we seeking humility and meekness? Are we walking in haughtiness, or are we seeking love and mercy and perseverance? Are we walking and talking and moving the way that the Most High needs us to move, needs us to operate? Are we saying that I have the victory or that he has the victory? When we have a semblance of a testimony through a long trial. These are the conditions that we have to meet because we've been so clean or dirty and filthy that we need to start cleaning up. We won't be all the way clean if you're in a dirty pool and you're staying in a dirty pool. No matter how much you try to clean with dirty water in a dirty pool, you're still going to be dirty. Let that sink in as you start your unofficial summertime here next week, end of this week, Memorial Day. And I thought that it was funny, Memorial Day, May Day, help. May Day, help. See, the reality is that our sister over in the continent, she has always looked up to us. She always knew that she was the younger sister. And she also knew that the way that she would be able to thrive and flourish would be with her older sister's help. Because she always knew that her older sister had that power, had that voice, had that authority that the Most High had blessed. She always knew that the older sister had the scepter. Well, I want to say this, that on behalf of the African diaspora, on behalf of our family members over at Q2A, on behalf of Region 6 and the operational spaces to bring this help that is on its way. because I am pleased to announce that help is on its way. The Most High knows his children. And you know, the one thing is, family, the Most High knows how his children operate. This medical shipping container, yeah, anybody can do it. It can be done by anybody. Matter of fact, it's done by them folks the most. But that doesn't mean anything. Something can be given to you as many times as people want. But let me tell you, there's a special thing when you get something from a family member. I've only had one brother. And I know that it's special giving something to my brother. And it's something when my brother gives something to me. Because why? Because we have both gone through some things. And when you both go through some things and you're able to say, hey, I want to help you with this, or I want to give you that, or you know what? I just want to give you this to show you I love you. We're family. Same with cousins. If you didn't know, we're giving a gift to our family because they are in trouble, same as us. But the reality of it is, we have always been in a position to where we have just a little more, even if it's been a facade. We get a little more, even if we know that it's always at jeopardy to be taken. We get a little more, even though we know that their system is in trouble. Like I had said, the stock market's going to go up and up and up and up. Okay. The stock market tumbled because people were getting on out, and those people that are getting on out were foreign investors. So now what? So now the government's trying to take on more debt to do what? To cook the market. So what is that called? You're just now recycling funds. So there's no real growth. So then what you're doing is you're doing the major damage on the whirlpool. And now folks that are stuck in these markets are now beginning to get their pockets washed. And if you don't think that that's the case, look at Japan. Because why? Because the whirlpool, the water comes from other countries first. The water gets drained from other countries first. And now these countries are beginning to get drained. That's what's happening. Well, I don't even have any dollars to even buy dollars. So why buy dollars when I can buy gold with my own currency? Does that now make sense to everybody? The dollars that I have don't even give me an opportunity to buy bonds, which then fuels the dollars. Do you see that black hole? You know what? Forget it. I'm buying gold. I'm buying precious metals, silver, platinum, you name it. because this is not something that is feasible, and it's definitely not sustainable. See, the reality is that as their age of ignorance is collapsing, let me tell you what we're getting ready to go through: an age of understanding. We're getting ready to have the understanding through the age of ignorance, because we're beginning to realize the power that we have already had. We've always had it. We just never knew how to use it, because as we used it for their stuff, for their gain, for their advantages. You know what? I think we need to start working with our family. They want us to work together. Oh, and guess what? They got billions of dollars of gold right there. Oh, guess what? They're saving themselves billions of dollars worth of different funds because they're able to now work and do the work. Something that looked like it could never happen. Do you realize that the pace that the African Union's on, they could literally be saving over $3 trillion a year that is then recycled within the African countries? What happens when that wealth is recycled? What happens to the West when that wealth is recycled? Understand, when France was trying to say that Africa needs France, no, that's a projection. Everything that they say about other people is what the condition is for them. And when you say, you know what, the devil is a liar, I rebuke that in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. I am wealthy. I am blessed. And guess what? I have a voice that is powerful, that the Most High has blessed me with. The question now is, what are you going to do with that voice? I thank the Most High. I literally had to rest my voice during this season, and it's getting better day by day by day. But it wasn't for a lack of trying. It was a lack of me just sitting down and saying, thank you, Father, while he was able to maximize my effectiveness. And now they're realizing ever so much, ever so slightly, that they do not have a voice anymore. So now they have to go to some of the other folks outside of their family, and they got to ask for money. While the continent is getting ready to be opened up for us. I know that's a hard thing for people to understand, comprehend, or even swallow. The discussions that I've had in the background has been anything less than supernatural, miraculous. Because the Most High's timing could not have been even better. I definitely appreciate everyone's support with the container, because we're not done yet. We still need to make this container happen. Help is on the way. But we need to get all the way there. Help us get all the way there. This is now not just a group effort here in Covenant Awakenings on these channels, these platforms that support. This is now a bigger effort than that. You realize our cousins really want to help us, because this is a bigger deal than what we could think or imagine. And I cannot break that down for you here in these YouTube spaces. I just can't. But I know for our people that are in the NeoDiplomatic Corps cohort, they understand exactly what it means and they see exactly where it's going. And boy, oh boy, we're only week 3 into a 12-week class. And they see the value that this course had done. They get it. Generally speaking, when you're doing this, especially at these higher levels of engagements, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars for these courses. And as you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on these courses, they only give you just a minuscule portion. And they don't even give you a real world scenario that's being defined at this very moment. What this is, it's a phenomenological approach, because they are experiencing everything. They are the only ones that are understanding what is happening, because they are being geared and positioned to be the neo-diplomatic advisors. See, I told you all earlier, I really did need about 15 to 20. And what I tell my class is understand, but also don't get overwhelmed. Because at the end of this class, you'll understand what you all will be getting ready to do. They understand the value of this training, of this certification. What we're doing, do not take it lightly. We're doing what should have always been done in the correct approach and terminology. It's just that we never did it. And the crazy thing is that I used to see this all of the time. But I never really delved into it. I've always had that understanding. I've always understood the operational. But I truly did not understand how that relationship was synced. See, part of understanding the age of ignorance is being able to understand what is it that's holding you back and how to be broken from that. so then you can be able to be the change and the impact that the Most High has called each and every one of us to be. It's a choice. I could have just chose to sat down and be like, you know what, Father, thank you, but I need my salary. My salary is a six-figure salary. Here's my requirements. Make sure that you had the direct deposit, and I'm just gonna sit here and be comfortable. Boy, oh boy, how many people are comfortable in this day and age? And then they're being called to HR. Or they're getting a Zoom meeting with HR thinking that they're going to do a performance review for that bonus. Yeah, that bonus is coming. And then they get let go. Because why? Because they're always taught, think positively. Positive thoughts, positive thoughts, positive thoughts. How many times do we hear that from them? Positive thoughts, think positively. If you're not thinking positive, of course bad things are going to happen. And that's vanity. The whole Mary Poppins routine is vanity. Because you can only have a positive approach when you realize that you have repented. You can only have a positive approach when you realize that the ways that you had was unclean. And therefore, you chose to break that spiritual contract with that unclean thing because you had touched that unclean thing. Because why? Because everybody has been indoctrinated in that unclean thing from literally grades K through 12. So you had no choice. So then what you're carrying around is an unclean idol that you have to break. And that idol will tell you time and time again, think good thoughts without what? Without truly repentant, which really means you're trying to clean yourself in a dirty behind swimming pool filled with all sorts of algae, snakes, toads, frogs, you name it, lizards, you name it. Take a look at a nasty behind, dirty behind swimming pool here in Florida. And you're going to be seeing lots of them because you want to know why? A lot of these homes are foreclosed on. And guess what? Them pools are in the back. If they haven't been drained, they're becoming some sort of a terrarium for all sorts of reptiles and amphibians. I'm not buying what they're selling anymore. And neither should you. They love to lie to themselves. Because why? Because that's what the word says. Man, they love the lie. And they're going to believe this lie until the very end. They are riding out hard on this lie. They're going to ride out till they crash out. And they're crashing out on this on this lie. Here's my offer today. You can make a difference if you choose to make a difference. The container's on its way. The help is on its way. I have been blessed to be last week in talks with a lot of high level folks. These doors are being opened tremendously. They're being thrown open. And guess what? I need help. I need help, and I have to train people, and I have to it's a specialized training. I thank the Most High for the cohort, our 5 special people in that first cohort. But when this thing goes on, you're going to see what I'm talking about, that June 30th is the cutoff. I'm going to tell you the price that this will go up to. Right now, for the summer cohort, it's $39.98. And what I did, since it's an introductory course, it was half off. So it was a little less than 2,000. And what the cohort is able to see and experience and feel and understand, well, it's priceless, but you always have to you always have to give it a value. You have to assign a value. But this next cohort that's coming by July 1st, it will be $5,500. But Brother Karras, that's a lot. It is. But when you see and you understand everything that's happening and everything that's beginning to happen, then you start to realize that the folks that see and understand this, they're going to be jumping at this. And I want to make this offer to our community right now. Will you step up? July 1st, that's there. Now, right now, you have a little less than 6 weeks. You'll have a little less than 6 weeks. Because when that happens, there will be an intent on that. We're going to be doing a community engagement, an open house. So the cohort will be able to explain to you why that value of what I said is still relatively cheaper than anything that you'll get, anything that you'll receive. Because I told you all the real value. It's about 25,000, especially for a 12-week course. Yeah. Especially for engaging in that type of high levels. Yes. But understand, those are new levels and those are new opportunities. And really, those are going to be more engagements with other countries at that time. And it's already shaping out with that right now. If you sign up within the next, I'm going to put this offer on out there. If you sign up within the next week, you will get the course at the $34.98. Excuse me, sorry, $39.98 as it was. I apologize. You'll get the course at $39.98. If you don't sign up by July or by July 1st, it goes to $5,500 or $54.98. It'll be $39.98. And I'll give you a coupon code to have a $1,000 deposit. So you'll have the deposit for the fall course. And we'll get the terms on out there to be as flexible as we can, that by September 14th, Sunday, September 14th, that all remaining funds will be due. I will have that ready and available by tomorrow to let people think that on over because of how big this is. Hallelujah. So with that, I got to get going because I am getting more text. I try, but again, I am on a East African, or excuse me, West African time zone that I do things, and even as I speak, things are moving. There's a lot of coordination involved in this. But I'll give you that story here of how this thing panned on out the way that only the Most High could do it. So with that said, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace and blessings Yasharel.